Hello, this is Angelo, and we are here with the 13th Finish Stronger Masterclass. Today's subject is quantum leaps and miracles. And by the way, I have a demonstration of one of the miracles that can happen every single day for us. In a little while, you will know what I'm talking about. So, before we begin, as always, I want to thank you and congratulate you for being here. It is a blessing to be here on your end, on your behalf, simply because it is the 13th masterclass. And we are almost at the end of this 100-day Finish Stronger Challenge. And you know by now how demanding it is and how rare it is to actually go all the way and be committed to your super self rather than committed to your excuses and your comfort zone. So, before we begin, you want to switch off your phone and all your notifications, all the tabs on the laptop or desktop you're watching right now, if it is so, and make sure that for the next 30 to 45 minutes in this world, it is you and me and everything we will be talking about here. And of course, you're more than welcome to keep notes, but always remember that you will have the replay at your disposal if you want to be fully present at what we are talking about here and keep some notes later on. Last but not least, I want to remind you that we have crossed the point of no return, as I like to say, and from now on, the only outcome that we allow in our consciousness is to land happily and safely at our destination, achieving our goal. So, our Finish Stronger journey continues. And last week we saw that you have new updates, meaning that always you want to upgrade your belief system in order to evolve in life, in order to upgrade your happiness and success. This demonstrates to you in many different ways how more accessible miracles are in our lives. The question that I always ask you at the beginning of every single webinar, and the question that you always want to ask yourself is, how do I feel, right? You know why? Because the better you feel, the more energy you have. And in order to go from point A to point B, from any point to where you want to go, you need energy. So upgrade your emotional state. You have the tools by now. And always remember which is our process goal, how we like to operate every single day from the point of what we call happy and unstoppable. And happiness, once again, this is a reminder that happiness is not the destination, is not something that will be achieved at the end of this Finish Stronger Challenge. On the flip side, happiness is what will be the fuel towards the end. So, which is the miracle I was talking about? I am basically kind of a demonstration of this miracle because I shouldn't be here by now. I have contracted COVID once again for the second time in my life last Monday. So now maybe you can tell from my voice that there is something wrong there. And my energy levels, again, were a bit down. It wasn't as severe as last year, but my energy levels were completely depleted. And I had two options: to rather cancel this webinar and say, you know what, I have COVID. I have a perfect excuse. But how on earth are you making a webinar talking about miracles and not being able to make it simply because, like of a virus or something? And what I did basically was go through the process once again, the process that I use every single day to upgrade my emotional state, and see how it goes basically. Okay, you can not always succeed. You cannot always have like the perfect energy levels and the perfect mindset and everything, but you have basically, especially if you care, and you are my why, you are the reason that I am here, because I so much want to see you arriving at your destination that I found the energy to do this webinar. So, when you do the work, the universe conspires in your favor and miracles are becoming more accessible. What do I mean by that? Well, I did the exercises that I will show you in a minute, but it wasn't my first time. And also, this is not my first webinar. I have done hundreds of webinars, and I have done like tens of thousands of times the exercises that I'm teaching and preaching here every single week. So I have some kind of momentum, and when something, like unfavorable happens in your life, like COVID or anything else, like, I don't know. When that happens, you capitalize on the previous momentum to get closer to who you need to be in order to overcome the challenge between you and your destination. So last week, we saw like the 5 core beliefs that you need to have, and also the 5 private beliefs in order, and many times you've heard it, you've heard me say, call them like the 5 waves. And of course, these are I believe I want it. So in that case, what I did is, do I want to make this webinar for you? Yes, I do. There is like, I really want to have you like experience how accessible miracles are. So I want this so bad. And then I said, do I believe I deserve it? Yes. I am the creator of Daily Source of Inspiration for almost 9 years now. We conclude like 9 years of Daily Source of Inspiration in this New Year's Day, and I believe that I fully deserve to be here and giving you. Can I do it? Yes, I can. So I immediately I checked on myself. Is COVID an issue, or I can do it anyway? And I firmly believe that I can do it anyway. So this was the next wave that I crossed. Will I do it? Then was the challenge. Will I resort back to the excuse of COVID, or will I do my best for you? And this is where it got a bit tricky, but at the same time, my why, which is, again, as I said before, seeing you at your destination, being fully happy and successful in 2023, was like the tipping point. And of course, last but not least, what I did, it doesn't matter so much what you see with your eyes open. So what I did again, of course, was the happy landing exercise, and I closed my eyes and saw myself performing at my best, which, by the way, was not, maybe it may not happen for you, and it's not happening for me. So right now my voice is not at its best. But when you have this design stage at an optimum level, what happens is that your performance gets as close to it as possible. So I left no detail outside because I had COVID. So I closed my eyes and saw myself and felt myself performing at my best and having like the best webinar ever, despite of all the challenges, despite of COVID, despite of my depleted energy levels and so on. So this is the tipping point. You have to get here. You have to be able to believe something before you see it. And miracles are reserved only to those who do not look out for proof. If you see proof, it is done. It is available to everyone. This is like true leadership to taking yourself, your family, and your business to the next level. You have to believe something before you see it. And why am I talking about miracles now? First of all, it is the 13th masterclass, right? And we began back in September 12th with our first masterclass. So we have gone a long way together, and we have created some kind of resonance. And at the same time, now going through all these insights from the previous 12 masterclasses, now these ideas have become more accessible to you. And last but not least, this is the moment where everyone is feeling like they don't have enough time. Oh, it's almost the end of the year. I don't have enough time to achieve what I want to achieve. So there is something wrong here. So when you feel lack of time, this pressure, right, you have now the tendency and the need for some kind of miracle. And now your senses are more open to what actually takes to achieve one. So, next, what is a miracle? Let's see what are we talking about here. And a miracle is simply something that we cannot explain from our current state of consciousness, from our current belief system. This is all it is. So for someone who has performed a miracle, this is absolutely logical simply because they have done it. They know how to do it. Maybe they know how to replicate it. So the moment you cannot explain something, this is to you a miracle. So why are miracles so rare? And this is simply because most of us have been trained to think linear rather than exponential or quantum. That's about it. And it shouldn't be this way. But for example, if you're an employee and you have like a salary of $2,000 per month, right? So you have a linear, you're training yourself to have a linear progress in your finances. 2,000, then 2,000, and then 2,000. So your income grows by 2,000 per month. Okay, and then you have, of course, your expenses and so on, and everything is linear to you. Your income is training your mind to think linearly. Then again, you have days like 1 day, 2 days. Again, we have a linear understanding of time. And all around, we see mostly linear demonstrations. But this is not the case if you look a bit further. So what you need to be doing is to upgrade your perspective and start seeing miracles all around. And first of all, one in the mirror, which is you. Because you are a miracle. Because the moment you were conceived, you were just one cell. And then that cell became 2, and then 4, and then 8, and then 16, and then 32, and then 64. And by the time you were born, you were already trillions of cells. Your body was comprised of trillions of cells. And this alone is an amazing miracle. And right now, as you are watching this webinar or listening to me, what is going on in your body is miraculous alone. All the processes that are going on, all the processes that are going on in your mind and the new neural pathways that are being created simply because you've heard a new concept on this webinar. And you're bringing again your super self on your consciousness right now, and you see yourself at your destination, and all these amazing things are happening. And you know what? Every single one of these processes is a miracle alone. But the problem is that they are so common, they are so ubiquitous in our lives that we call them normal. No, this is not a miracle. This is normal. But what are we talking about here? All these processes are miracles. All these processes have like amazing backgrounds, and they happen simply because we live in a miraculous universe where everything is available only if we allow it. So you're not just a miracle, but you're also a miracle in the making, because the only person who has to believe in your super self so that you can see your super self in the mirror and your super life before your very eyes is you. And this is the only thing that it takes for you to make this miracle happen. So everyone wants to achieve something more. You want more happiness. You want a better lifestyle, a higher state of being, or whatever it is. And it all boils down to this distinction. Will you believe in your super self before you see it? This is all it takes to start to begin the miracle creation process. So let me give you a brief idea of what miracles, of how miracles evolve when this time pressure that I talked about before happens. So you most probably, if you're watching this, you know Think and Grow Rich, the book written by Napoleon Hill, and of course, you know Napoleon Hill as well. But maybe you don't know how the name of Think and Grow Rich came up. And this was given by Napoleon Hill himself in one of his seminars. So what happened basically was Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich was not his first book. So he wrote Think and Grow Rich in order to make it, like a blockbuster personal development book. From the very beginning, this was his intention, to make it, like truly broad, like a huge distribution and everything. And of course, a great financial success as well. But he didn't have a blockbuster name, or as he and his publisher was calling it, $1 million title. So he was very creative, and he found like 600 titles, as he said, but none of them were good enough. So at some point, his publisher's patience, like went through the roof, and he called Napoleon Hill and he said, "You know what? I'm done with this. My patience is completely depleted. And you know what? You will either find the title tonight, or tomorrow morning I'm going to print with the title, 'Use Your Noodle and Get the Boodle.'" And Napoleon Hill was, like frantic on the other side of the line. And he was like, "No, you cannot do this to me. This is like a very dignified book. And I've done my best, to deliver this technology to mankind. That no, you cannot do this to me." So the publisher said, "Take it or leave it." Okay, so he hangs up, and Napoleon Hill now is like on the verge of catastrophe on one end, but at the same time, he has done the work, as I said in the beginning. So pay good attention now, because this is like the tipping point. So you use this pressure productively and constructively in order to make yourself make the changes that wouldn't happen any other way. So what happened basically was that Napoleon Hill started talking to his subconscious. And he said, "Dear sub, you have done a lot of things for me and a lot of things to me due to my ignorance. But right now, I need to have that $1 million title. I need to have that $1 million title tonight. Do you hear me?" He was, as he said, he was so loud that his neighbor that was staying on the apartment on the lower floor, he was, thumping his ceiling. And of course, Napoleon Hill would feel it. And he was so intense. And you would think that Think and Grow Rich came up at this moment, but it didn't. All that happened, and this is when you realize that there is this tipping point. All that happened was a sense of relief at Napoleon Hill's heart, a sense that it is done, a feeling that it is completely taken care of by the subconscious mind. So Napoleon Hill went to bed, and at 2-3 a.m. he woke up with the title Think and Grow Rich. He immediately picks up the phone, calls the publisher, and the publisher says, "Yes, you've got it. This is our $1 million title." And immediately, this was another miracle that happened simply because Napoleon Hill was not accepting reality. He accepted his infinite potential, which is also part of our reality, and got the result he wanted. So miracles only happen having three things. Number one, at happiness or above. You cannot be frustrated and create miracles. You cannot be angry and create miracles. You cannot be jealous and create miracles. And when you are in the emotional state of happiness, the mental equivalent is what? You know that by now. Flow. You are at flow state, so miracles are accessible to you. They're not accessible to those who observe what you're doing and what you're, the level of success that you're achieving, but they're completely accessible to you. Last but not least, they happen in the present. Once your conscious mind is preoccupied with what happened in the past or what would happen in the future, if things go wrong, or if we have like another pandemic or whatever that is, or if the economy will go south or whatever, there is no way for you to perform miracles because miracles are happening right now. This is where all our power is concentrated. So the only way to achieve miracles is having like these three presuppositions. And miracles only happen under the surface of our consciousness. Our conscious mind is not the one that is performing the miracle. Remember always Napoleon Hill's story. Our conscious mind is the leader who is giving instructions to the master subconscious mind, to the immensely powerful subconscious mind who has at its disposal all the information. And this is why it was Napoleon Hill was calling it infinite intelligence many times. So, that said, how do you craft a miracle? There are only 3 steps. They're very simple, they're very easy to do, but also, as Jim Rohn used to say, they're easy not to do. And you might feel, like a tendency not to go through these steps because they're so simple. But what you will be doing is a disservice to you and the vision of your super self that you keep in your heart. So, number 1, you consciously express. And when we say express, it's not like out loud, but you express with your actions, most importantly, and with your body language. This is what shows and demonstrates what you truly believe in. So you consciously express that you're not negotiating your vision. You're not negotiating the arrival at your destination. As I like to say, the only fixed point in the whole universe is my destination. Everything else can and will change. My beliefs will change. My habits will change. My discipline levels will change. The people around me that will help me achieve what I want to achieve will change. The only fixed point in the universe is my destination. When you express that, everything else changes for you. Number 2, you stop taking advice from your fears and your logical conscious mind or the logic of your peer group, right? You cannot achieve miracles with logical advice or with logical demonstrations of what has happened up until now. This is not the way to go. You only take advice from one person alone, your super self, because your super self is the person, by definition. Yes, your super self is a construction of my imagination. This is how I thought of calling the person who has achieved already everything that you want to achieve. This is, by definition, your super self. And yes, this is a construction of my imagination. And yes, your subconscious mind does not care and cannot distinguish from what you perceive with your senses and what you imagine. So you better take advice from someone who has already achieved what you want to achieve, who is already at where you want to go, because they know the path. They even know all the challenges that are in the way. They know the shortest, the easiest, the most fun way to go about it. Everything. So, number 3, you can stop frantically looking for the how. It will be delivered to you. Napoleon here was frantically looking for the title, and he found 600 titles, but not the good one. All that you do is stay at this positive, happy state and allow the solutions, the how to your life, to your consciousness. Once you grow and once you resonate with your super self, then everything else is becoming accessible to you. And of course, I want to remind you that I've had this kind of miracle like 7 years ago. And it was about that time that I found out that in Iceland, everyone is giving everyone else a book at about Christmas. And I thought, wow, that would be a great idea to give one book to everyone on my community, like the Daily Source of Inspiration community. And I thought it would be a great idea, but I didn't have a book to send to each and every one, right? So I thought, okay, what if I wrote like a quick book or something? And I had this idea, and what happened was a miracle because I wrote the 17 secrets for an amazing 2017, but the difference was that I wrote it and published it and have like the first people receive it in less than 17 hours. Not 17 days, not 17 weeks or months. 17 hours. I too was unable to believe it logically when that happened, and a few days later about 5,000 people downloaded that book. And you know why this happened, this miracle? Simply because never during these 17 hours I challenged myself if I can do it, if this will be a success, if people will like it, if people will read it, whatever. I just went into the flow. This was like my best time ever. And I was simply being, for 17 hours, as I like to say, a secretary of the universe. I was just downloading and typing and doing whatever it took without any hesitation and without any challenge. Basically, in a sense, I don't know why it happened. You know why? Because everything happened under the surface of consciousness. I had a clear direction, a book at everyone in my community. That was it. And everything else, I didn't try to interfere with infinite intelligence, thinking that I was smarter or I could do it better or anything. The same like mistake that we do almost all day long. And basically sabotaging our own success and happiness. So once again, I want to remind you one of my favorite examples. And this, of course, is from Orville and Wilbur Wright and their first flight. And they had so many failures. They had so many reasons not to be in history's books. But at the same time, they had a clear image in their minds and they were repeating to each other that I see ourselves flying swiftly and joyfully and so on. And this was it. This was kept like the progress alive. And at the same time, they persisted enough or as long as it took to live, to have their success and their demonstration of success within their levels of consciousness. This is where things from impossible are becoming impossible within our level of consciousness to what is possible. So why am I telling you this example again? I mentioned it last week when I was talking about beliefs, because miracles do not need time or effort. All they need is that attunement. All they need is that alignment with the how. So, in about a few days, I think, I don't remember the exact date, but in about a few days, it will be 120 years from that first flight. Okay? So this first flight could have happened 500 years ago, 5,000 years ago, and it was not a matter of being, like smart enough or having, because everything exists at any given time. The moment that we realize it, this is the only thing that changes. So now, remember that the version of you that will achieve what you want to achieve this year and the next year and the year later, what it takes could be available to you right now only if you allow it. This is the only thing that it takes. So your homework for this week is, number one, check your commitment with your destination, and it must be 10 out of 10 every single moment during the day, especially now that you are at the last leg and you might feel a bit depleted, and you might feel that you've given your very best and so on. Always remember, this commitment will convert itself into energy to help you achieve what you want to achieve. Number two, consciously upgrade your beliefs. This is the moment, because you will take advantage of this perceived pressure right now as we end this Finish Stronger challenge, and you will convert it into an upgrade of your beliefs much easier than they would happen any other way. And always remember, it doesn't take more time. You can drive your car and upgrade your beliefs. You can be, like at some kind of line waiting, in the post office, or because you want to send some cards to relatives all around the world or whatever, or you might be in the bank as you wait and upgrade your beliefs. Even in a meeting, you can upgrade your beliefs on what the outcome of that meeting is, working inwardly where it matters most. Last but not least, upgrade your activity in our Finish Stronger Challenge group. Now is where it matters most. So you want to ask all the questions. Do not leave any questions unanswered. Do this favor to yourself. Have your questions answered now that you have my attention. Next, share your wins, no matter how small they are, because you will elevate the collective energy of the group. And last but not least, invite the ones that are still out, and it is the time for them to have some kind of insight, some kind of support in order to get their happiness and success to the next level. I'm so grateful for you for being here once again. I thank you for your participation, and I hope that you realized that I truly gave my best to be here, having COVID and all, and making sure that I demonstrated the most important thing of all, that miracles are much more accessible if you take your logical mind out of the way, because logic and miracles cannot happen together. They cannot coexist. So until next week, that we will be having our 14th masterclass, we will be sharing thoughts on the Facebook group. And of course, once again, I want to leave you with this simple reminder. You deserve everything you want, and we all deserve your best self. Take care. Ciao, ciao.